G'day guys, $2.20 here and welcome back to Springwood. In today's episode, we're going to be working on a very wealthy, luxurious area of town, the kind of like downtown shopping area for the wealthy residents of Springwood. It's located really close to the downtown area, and it's actually me kind of kicking off, I guess, working on the wealthier residents of Springwood. We've been mostly focusing on the lower to middle class residents, and actually, like I said in my previous episodes, I actually kind of want to start focusing on the wealthier residents. So this is me kicking that off. I do have to apologize. I have crazy amounts of traffic out the front of my house at the moment. It's peak hour in Sydney and I am smack bang in the city. So yeah, apologies, that's going to creep into the microphone. And also, my computer's having a really hard time with memory at the moment. I need to sort it out. So there's actually not going to be any live play with commentary at the end. I just couldn't make it happen. But I've actually been working on some cinematics and commentary section towards the end of the episode. So I think it's going to be really great. So definitely stick around for that. So it's actually just started pissing down with rain outside my house, so this is going to make for a really bad commentary. I don't even know what it sounds like coming through your speakers currently. I can't imagine it's going to be too great, so yeah, second apology from me right there. A little bit about what I'm building right now. I'm kind of working on this railroad that actually it's really interesting because this railroad really comes from, I guess, like quite a far distance in the city, more of the lower ends of town, you know, kind of towards that Coney Island region that I worked on a couple of episodes ago. So it's really cool to see it kind of snake around the entire city, and now it's kind of going through this, you know, wealthier residential area. So it's actually really fun to kind of actually, you know, bring him through this area. And this tram line is actually has been demanded quite a lot. I shouldn't say demanded. It's been suggested quite a lot in my comments. People have been really wanting me to put in a tram line, and I've been really keen to do it. But as much as I actually take from Los Angeles and from New York, this tram line is actually quite inspired from the one in Sydney. But the one in Sydney is like it's not extensive and it's not fantastic, and it's actually called the light rail. It's not really called a tram. And the reason why I really like it is because I kind of like that it's not extensive. It's kind of only really restrictive to some residents in Sydney. So I actually kind of wanted to make a similar tram line in Springwood where it kind of only accesses the wealthier residents and kind of, you know, takes them into a couple of places, mostly just more wealthier residential areas, and then it kind of goes into the like the city or something like that. So really, like, not a very extensive network, but kind of like it like that, just like a bit of a special feature. And like the one in Sydney is really interesting because we once had a really extensive network and, you know, went around everywhere to beaches and cities and, you know, western suburbs and everywhere. But we actually got rid of it like 50 years ago, replaced it with stupid buses, and now we're kind of like only just starting to, you know, bring it back. I think it must be such a regret from the government, but, you know, just a classic thing. So a little bit about the build. I'm kind of focusing on this kind of like Los Angeles, Beverly Hills scene, and I really like it. I really like the style of builds there are around in this area. I guess it's kind of a little bit Mexican themed, and you know, the rooftops are really interesting, and like the buildings are just crazy. Like they look crazy expensive. So I kind of wanted to go for something like that. But I kind of really struggled because I found it really kind of hard to build a lot of atmosphere in this area, and that's actually half the reason why this episode is so late, is because like I've built this area 3 times. It doesn't sound like much, but like I literally build it and go, nah, like I didn't get it, and then I delete it and start again. So there's like 3 episodes that I've scratched because I just wanted it to be perfect. So like it's a really important part in the city, and I really wanted to get it right. And plus, because I've been building so many like rundown neighborhoods and industrial areas and docks, like I just wasn't in the right mind frame to build something like this. So like I really struggled to build it. So it took me a while to kind of get my head around it, and now that I am kind of in that mind frame, I do want to continue with this area, because I think if I went back to like industrial, I have to like just switch my mindset again. Down here I'm just plopping down this, what I think turns out to be a really cool drive-through Macca's, and we call them Macca's in Australia. I don't know if that's actually called on to anywhere else. And and yeah, I see Strict Toaster actually makes lots of these drive-through fast food chains, and they look awesome. This is my first one, so had a crack with that, and I think it turns out pretty well. I've been going crazy with these planters. That's like a theme for this whole episode, is just like planters, because like I've got a lot of different patterns going on with the grounds, with the ground textures in this area. Like I use a lot of different decals to kind of break up a lot of the concrete look, and when I do, like it kind of becomes a bit choppy, and so I felt like I needed to kind of break it up with a lot of planters, and they work out really well. And like even in an area just here where the building doesn't really match the road, I use the planter to kind of actually match the direction of the road. Like just kind of like, I don't know, it puts my mind at ease. This is the start of one of the many hotels I put down in the city, or in this actual area. I wanted it to be, you know, it's just outside of the downtown area, and I wanted there to be quite a lot of hotels to support a lot of people coming in and doing a lot of shopping in this sort of area, and kind of like going into the actual city from here. So I'm starting to place down one of those, the decals that I was talking about. So I do use a lot of these ground decals to kind of break up a lot of the concrete, but also like it's also a big feature in this sort of area in Los Angeles, this Beverly Hills area. I've got a lot of different patterns, and I guess they're trying to be fancy and rich and clever. But yes, I'm trying to make that sort of a look, trying to get that vibe happening. I really want this area to have a particular feel, and like I said before, I've built this area so many times and just deleted it because I just haven't been happy with how it's turned out. And the vibe's so hard to get, because like, you know, you can make great cities and city skylines, but in terms of like vibe and feeling like a city is like a proper city, can lack it a little bit, can like be a little bit hard to actually even get that feeling. So yeah, so I'm really kind of like working hard to kind of figure that out. And actually in the live play at the end, not the live play, the cinematic commentary play at the end, I will actually try and establish a little bit more of that vibe, and I think I achieve it towards the end. I think I finally get there. Down here, there's a real particular style of shops that I really wanted to achieve, and it's really kind of hard with so many different assets and, you know, different buildings you have in the game. They're all these different shapes, and I know they kind of follow like a particular grid, but in this area, and here's a picture, I find that a lot of these buildings are like these protruded rectangles. So they're kind of like skinny at the front and then skinny at the back, but like they're kind of long. I guess they're long buildings. And they're all long. Like there's like maybe an exception, but like they're pretty much all that shape. So a lot of these buildings that I was using like were all different shapes. So every time I'd make like a block of shops, I'd always feel like it just didn't look how I wanted it to look. So I'm actually clipping a lot of buildings here to kind of make that look, and the cinematics are kind of displayed a little bit better, but I think I achieved that pretty well. And I'm also using a lot of the same shop front, because like there's not a great deal of luxury shopping areas on the workshop. So I kind of had to find as much as I could and then kind of just like tweak them with like, you know, splicing different kind of other buildings so that they kind of got that, you know, got like a bit of a unique look. Now this building here, I love this building. I think it looks so great. And I was really keen to put it in, but like it's so tall, and it was taller than like any other sort of building I wanted to be in this area. You know, like I wanted the downtown to be like pretty much the only skyscrapers in the city, and this is borderline skyscraper. So I kind of like put him really towards the downtown to kind of like mark the beginning of higher buildings. And this would be like the highest building in this kind of area. But I really love this style of building. I think it looks awesome. It fits into the whole, you know, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills sort of look, which is really cool, especially when you clip that other one in there. It's perfect. And yeah, this backlot, I kind of wanted it actually to be a little bit grungier than the rest of everything else in this commercial area. So I wanted there to be, and like I said before, I love transitions in cities, and I wanted there to be this transition from, I guess, suburban wealthy living inhabitants, and then you have like this commercial area which is like, you know, oh look at me, I've got all this money, I want to spend all this cash, and then you kind of like gets really grungy to downtown area, and I want the downtown to be quite grungy looking. Like I want it to be, you know, old buildings and dirt and make it look pretty wrecked, whereas like around here it's still quite pretty nice. And yeah, so I kind of like, this is like the borderline. This is like when it starts getting a little bit crap in the city. So, and like I said, like I really love building transitions. Like I find it really interesting when I've done traveling overseas. I think like the most exciting part of traveling is when you kind of like on the borderline of like two different countries, and like got this like really weird mix of cultures, and it's like just really interesting. But like you also have that in cities where like, you know, you've got like the downtown area and then you've got like suburbs, and you kind of like, sometimes you drive, because I live in the city, like I drive from the city to the burbs, and you kind of go like, oh, like how does it get from like, you know, skyscrapers and these old buildings to like this, I don't know, all these kind of random houses? I find that really interesting. I think I'm just like a massive city nerd, which is something I can only really share with other city nerds like yourselves. Actually, I'm kind of curious, if you're someone who actually doesn't even play City Skylines, like, can you just like comment below, because that would be really interesting to find someone who doesn't even play the game just watching this channel. That would be really interesting. Again, I'm just plopping down these planters. They're just the best. I can't get enough of them. They really fill a lot of different gaps, and a lot of the time I kind of put down a building and go like, oh, that looks terrible, and then it can kind of like fill it out with these planters. And actually, like, as a rule of thumb, there's always some sort of garden attached to a building. So if you plop down like a big building, like plop a planter next to it and just like make that a garden. And it's so easy, and it just makes it look quite realistic. But anyway, guys, I think I'm actually going to leave it there, because I'm going to do a bit of talking towards the end. So stay tuned for a bit of a cinematic play towards the end of the time-lapse. I've actually built like a shopping complex already, and then I actually go back and delete it and change it and make it into something that I think is way better. And I'm actually going to tweak it just a bit, just to give it a bit of atmosphere, a bit more atmosphere than it actually was in this little time-lapse. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in a little bit. Hey you guys, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around, and sorry about the lack of live play. I think this pretty much like hits a nail on the head. It covers all the bases. I kind of just wanted to talk about some things I didn't add in the time lapse, and just go through some of my ideas and future plans. So first up, really happy with the general build. I put in a couple of different buildings that went in the time lapse. Like I put in this theatre. I think it fits in with the building theme, and also I think theatre is like a classic thing to put in an area like this. I'm actually really excited to be putting down more of these sort of buildings because I haven't been in any of the other episodes. I've also put in this like cathedral because I want there to be, I kind of want this area to be quite like a religious area. Like I want the wealthy, the high class residents of Springwood to be quite religious. So I'm gonna start putting in a lot of different churches, and like this is quite iconic with like Los Angeles, and you know, I guess, well, I don't know, I've never been there. Well, I have, but ages ago. But like, I guess I'm kind of like thinking like Grand Theft Auto, alright? I'm thinking Grand Theft Auto. Anyway, I've also put in a lot of buildings just as kind of like placeholders, and I've spoken about this before. Just putting in buildings to kind of get a bit of a feel for where I want other buildings to go. And these ones kind of fit in really nicely, so I've stuck them down like that. These kind of buildings are kind of like trickling onto the edges of, I guess, the highway into the more rundown sort of areas of town, middle class areas of town. So just these kind of like little shops that aren't really too special. I've got this interesting kind of function hall slash, I don't know, a commercial office area. It's kind of like an interesting area. I'm not really sure what it is, but I kind of like what it is. I think it's quite a good feeler of space. I've fixed up my McDonald's. It looks a little bit more realistic, especially with that car park. I think it fits in a lot nicer. And I've also kind of like put in the corner, getting towards the downtown, kind of a bit more of like what I want the downtown area to look like. A bit run down, darker, and older sort of styled buildings. Now I'm kind of getting into a really exciting part that I'm really glad I kind of touched up on, and I'm really happy with how this building turned out. I think it fits in really nicely, and it's exactly how like the other building is in that area, in the Beverly Hills region. And I kind of wanted it to be a mix of old and new, and wanted it to really look like it's a cafe, got like a real cafe culture, and like a real hub of where people kind of go to first if they're actually visiting this area. I've spoken about using the people placer, people spawner tool. There it is, park people, and that actually works really well, just to kind of make people actually travel there and make people kind of like stand around and hang around and make them look like they're actually like, you know, interacting with the environment, which I think is really important in like a shopping village. I also kind of wanted it to have like a lot of coffee shops and a lot of people kind of doing things around here. And I'm actually kind of, do I keep doing it? Yeah, I am. So I've taken the the park people placer, and I've kind of like put them in all different areas, and I'm actually yet to see if it works as well as I kind of imagine it to work. So that's going to be when I shoot the cinematics. So I'm really fingers are actually crossed to see if people are there hanging out. But if it does, like, I think that's really going to increase the vibe that I'm going for in this area. So I'm just kind of going nuts, placing it everywhere, thinking about where people might be hanging out. I also put down some vanilla kiosks. It's not like perfect, it's not exactly what I want, but I think because it's a busy area, you do need a lot of props to kind of show that it's a busy area. And I do place down a couple of other little bits and pieces just to kind of get that feel. And this prop I'm playing with right here is a footbridge, and it's been on the workshop for probably about a year, and I've never really found it before. So now that I have, I'm going to use it everywhere. It's unusable by people, so it's just for show. But I think it really adds to a lot of it just shows that there's like a lot of people in this area that warrants having a footbridge around here. So that's something I'm definitely going to use more often. It's really realistic as well. I think it looks great. But that's pretty much the end of the episode. I'm showing you here a couple of undeveloped areas that I've kind of mapped out. Right here's a bit of what I want to be a bit more of an industrial area that's kind of like just on the line of where that commercial area we just developed is. So I think that might be a really interesting spot. But I'm also kind of curious to build this wealthy residential area, get that population up, because there's a lot of there's a lot of problems in the city. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for tuning in. While you're waiting for my next episode, definitely scoot on over to my buddy Skibbeth. He has just released a new season, episode 1. Yet to watch it because I'm recording this prior to the release of the episode. But he's been sending me teasers every day and they look bloody awesome. So go and check him out. And until we meet again, have a great week and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.